Hello, people, and welcome back, or welcome to whatever I call this series now. I will be talking about Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2, and yes, there will be spoilers, so you don't want to know anything about these films, even though they've been out for a while now, then don't watch this. But yeah. Peter Faber left him with his aunt years ago and eventually died from an unknown crash or something like that. Peter's always tried to move on from this, but he's always had an interest in his father. That led him to finding out that he worked for a company called Oscorp. And when investigating there, he's bit by a radioactive spider. Now I'm guessing you know he gets powers and so on. Peter doesn't exactly use his powers for good straight away. He more uses it for his own personal greed and to look cool in front of people. And he eventually uses it to show off a basketball thing that caused a bunch of damage. This causes him and his uncle to get into an argument, what causes Peter to run away. At some point in the film, Peter ends up letting a thief go away. This thief eventually ends up killing Uncle Ben, and Peter wants revenge after it. He doesn't exactly care about saving people yet. He mostly cares about finding the person who killed Uncle Ben. Also, Peter finds out that his father was friends with another scientist called Curt Connors, who's trying to develop a way to gain the ability to regenerate limbs and so on by using lizard DNA. He thinks he might have perfected it, but he needs more time to make sure. But Oscorp won't allow that and is debating about cancelling the project, so he decides he'll test it on himself, and he slowly becomes the lizard. The lizard and Spider-Man fight a couple of times, with Peter eventually finding out that Curt Connors / the lizard's plan is to turn everyone into reptile-like creatures like himself to start a new life, even though it would more likely just cause chaos.
I'm gonna throw you out the window now.
Peter tries to stop the lizard's plan, but is interrupted by the police and Gwen's father, the police chief, and he finds out that Peter is Spider-Man. This causes him to help Peter, even though this would end up with him getting killed, and Peter makes a promise not to date Gwen as it could be risky. Peter eventually stops the machine and turns people back into humans who might have been turned into lizards. Curt Connors is then put in jail, and Peter and Gwen decide to keep dating as Gwen doesn't care that her father didn't want it and wants to be with Peter. This film is okay. That's the best answer I can exactly give, because I don't think it's the best Spider-Man film out there. I don't think it's an amazing film compared to other stuff, but there's definitely really good parts. Visually, the film's somewhat generic and pretty dark at times, but there's certain scenes that stand out. Andrew Garfield does great in the role, and it seems like the film really wanted to do a more scientific Peter and focus on that element. Gwen is a lot better than MJ from the Raimi films, I'll say that. She's a lot more involved and has her own character and personality. The Lizard, in my opinion, isn't a great villain though. He seems quite boring compared to everything else, and just isn't that fun of an antagonist compared to what the Raimi films had to offer. Aunt May is good. You can very much tell she's worried about Peter and doesn't want anything bad to happen towards him. One thing I found strange was Uncle Ben never said with great power comes great responsibility. Now, I don't know if it was because they didn't want the film to be too connected with the Raimi trilogy, as that was their big thing, but also it could be because that in the comics, this is from my knowledge, Uncle Ben never actually says that. It's Stan Lee who says that. So I don't know if it was that, basically. I could be wrong. Spider-Man's suit in this film is weird, because I like the yellow eyes. I think it looks weird and can look pretty cool at night, but the texture of it makes it look so strange that I'm unsure about it. I know it's trying to go for a more homemade look, but I still am very unsure about it. But yeah, and the Lizard doesn't look great in my opinion. It's mostly the human face. I understand why they did it, but I'd rather an actual lizard head, like with a snout and everything. I just think it would look better in my opinion. But yeah, moving on to facts. In Peter's room there's a photo of actor Donald Glover. This was a nod to the fact at the time Donald really wanted to play Spider-Man, and sadly I don't think this will happen, but he's a pretty good choice. He did pop up as the uncle of Miles in Homecoming, and he was referenced in Spider-Man Into Spider-Verse. Mostly because he was the big inspiration for Miles as a character. Dr. Kurt Connor's son Billy appears in a deleted scene, and to be honest, I didn't think this version had a family because I don't think he ever mentions them in the film. Maybe he was, but they decided to not do it. I don't know why. In the sewer scene, Spider-Man was meant to say a joke saying that the lizard resembles a Goomba, what I think is very much a nod to the Super Mario Bros. Movie, because Goombas in that look very similar to the lizard. They probably removed it because the film is very obscure now. I've talked about the movie also on my channel. Overall, The Amazing Spider-Man isn't a perfect Spider-Man movie and does have its problems for me, and compared to other films, this isn't that great, but I can see why some people might be fans of it, or why some people might just like it in general. I would probably give the movie 3 out of 5 stars, or maybe even 4. Also, Peter doesn't kill the lizard, so this version of Spider-Man has killed no one, unlike the Sam Raimi Spider-Man, who I can't remember how many he killed last time. But yeah, for some reason I'm keeping a kill count if you didn't know that. But yeah.
Welcome to Oscorp. Born from the mind of our founder Norman Osborn.
It's a strange movie choice to make Norman Osborn Noob Saibot. did no one just see Peter jump off a building, or did no one question that? So how exactly did Flash get that Spider-Man top? Wasn't Spider-Man like a criminal basically? Who's making merchandise off of him? Anyway, instead of straight away talking about Spider-Man for the basic plot synopsis or whatever you want to call it, I'm going to talk about Max Dillon, aka Electro, if you've seen the film. Max works at Oscorp, but he ain't really treated that well compared to our people. And eventually he falls into a bunch of a vat of electric eels, yes, as goofy as that sounds, and air quotes, dies. While this happens, Peter and Gwen break up. Gwen is a bit annoyed as this has happened multiple times, as Peter has guilt over her father's death and doesn't know what he should be doing exactly. Peter eventually ends up meeting an old friend of his, Harry Osborn, the son of Norman Osborn. They talk a bit, but Harry's very focused on other things, as he's found out that his family has a sickness that is linked to him that has no cure yet, and he's very driven to find a cure so he can live. While that happens, the company Oscorp, so people who run it, still don't trust Harry as the boss of it all, and have been trying to hide certain factors of it, such as Max Dillon's death, once again in air quotes, because he eventually reawakens as a blue electrical being and heads down to Town Square, where he accidentally causes some damage without realizing, because he doesn't know how to control his powers exactly. Spider-Man tries to calm Electro down as he realizes that obviously he doesn't want to hurt anyone, and Ken tries to calm him down a bit. But backfires when the police shoot at Max, and Max shoots electricity everywhere. Eventually, Peter saves the people and Max is put in prison, and he is tortured and experimented on. This causes Max to get more angry and vengeful, as he believes Spider-Man just wanted him gone and couldn't care about helping him. Harry then talks with Peter and basically asks that can Peter make Spider-Man meet up with him, as he believes Spider-Man's blood is possibly a cure for his sickness, cause his spider powers allow him regenerate faster than a normal human would. Peter says he doesn't think it would be possible, as it could come with many risks, like the lizard scenario. So when Spider-Man meets up with Harry and says no, Harry gets angry and annoyed and basically begins hating Spider-Man. Eventually, Harry finds out about all the stuff Oscorp has been hiding from him and lets Max free and dons a power suit while his sickness starts to become worse. And they both go after Spider-Man. Peter tries to fight Electro while also talking with Gwen. Peter and Gwen come up with a plan to blow up Electro, killing him. While this happens, Harry eventually tries to grab Gwen while Electro blows up. Peter chases Harry, but eventually they end up fighting in a clock tower, with Peter trying to make sure Gwen is okay. But at some point, Goblin, yes, Goblin, because Harry is a Green Goblin at this point, drops Gwen down, and Peter tries to save her, but she ends up dying still. And Peter jumps down, breaking into tears from it all. Green Goblin is put in prison, and they eventually have a funeral for Gwen, and that's where the film ends. This film is not good, I'm gonna be honest. There's definitely parts of it what are pretty good, but overall the film is very messy in my opinion. First, Peter breaking up with Gwen makes sense in my opinion, but the thing what kinda ruins it is Gwen's father's ghost. And look, I know it's not an actual ghost, but it's just a visual for the audience, but it doesn't help that Peter sees it. We see him looking at it and acknowledging it. So I feel like it is there. It's just a weird thing they didn't need, and you would been able to tell without any visual. So yeah, I don't know why it's a thing in this. Harry isn't great. I think the blood idea could have worked well, maybe, but also it's kinda weird that Peter's best friend is the son of the CEO of Oscorp, and he never really mentions it in the first film, and he doesn't even really mention it as a big thing in this. He's just, oh yeah, my friend, son of the big well-known CEO of that massive company. Like, he treats it as like this very normal thing, what I just think is strange. Max Dillon, aka the Electro, is not great also in this. Now, there's a couple of reasons why I don't like this version specifically. Now, in this universe, it hasn't been said, but a lot of people believe he might have had a mental disability, or at least that was what they're going for. Now, I'm not going to say if that's true exactly or not, but I can see certain symptoms of stuff, I guess. By the way, when he becomes Electro, he is confused and wants help. He doesn't exactly want to hurt anyone, he's just doesn't know what's going on. Peter does try to help him, and that's good, like, that's great. But later on, at the end of the film, Peter just seems to think it's fine to blow him up without a care. That Max is just angry because he wants to be treated like a person, not a freak, a monster, when that isn't who he was. He became that, and they just ignored that and made him into a very generic villain, and who Spider-Man kills without a care. I have one big question for Harry's Green Goblin. What was his goal? Was it just to bring Peter pain, or was it to hopefully get a Peter's blood and then heal himself? Also, does the sickness make you insane? Because Harry definitely acted insane, but my big problem with that, his father didn't exactly seem insane, just more aggressive than a normal person would be, so I don't know why he acted like that. I do have to say they do Gwen's death very well, and Peter's reaction to it is done amazingly. Is probably one of the better scenes in this film. Now, I have heard that there's deleted scenes to this film. I haven't seen them, and in my opinion, I'm trying to watch the film as how it was shown. So yeah, maybe the deleted scenes make the film better, but without them, I just don't like the film. Also Peter kills one person in this film, so his kill count is now 1, what is still lower than Tobey Maguire's 4 kills. Anyway. Peter's suit in this film is great. The big eyes and just everything about it feels very classic Spider-Man. And it just works. But Electro's design is okay. It's very obvious they wanted to do the ultimate design, and that's understandable, but I do feel like it's not that interesting compared to other design choices they could have went with. Harry's green gum is not great in my opinion. It's just strange, I guess. And I understand that it's meant to look very military, and the green skin and all that's meant to look like the mask, but it just doesn't work in my opinion. What can be seen are Doc Ock's tentacles / arms, Vulture's wings, and Otty Rhino's suit that we got to see him use for like a small bit. There was also another room that was just cut out of it. What was a room with showing Norman Osborn's head cut off in a box that seems to maybe be frozen. Now I have no idea what their plan was for this. It's such a weird thing. But yeah. Also, the graduation speech that Gwen speaks was wrote by Emma Stone herself. Gwen in the film basically wears the same outfit that she does in the comics when she dies. Spider-Man's ringtone is the classic Spider-Man theme. And Mary Jane was originally planned to pop up in the film, but was cut. Other scenes what were cut was a scene that showed Peter's father is alive, and some more scenes with Max. Overall, this film just doesn't work in my opinion. It's very tiring at points. Characters are very messy at certain scenes. I rate the film 2 or 1 stars out of 5. But that's just my opinion, of course. Anyway, if you've enjoyed this video, maybe leave a like or a comment, or hey, even dislike the video if you wish. And maybe subscribe. That's all, and goodbye.